Hello all of you lovely people, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, and today I want to talk to you about The Punisher. Frank Castle, what a man. Not exactly what you'd call a joker, but still very, very committed to the cause of bringing down the criminal underbelly in every city that he is in, with extreme prejudice. He is a one-man war on crime. He is almost unstoppable when he gets going, and in his time he has taken down some absolutely terrifying foes. So you know what? Let's take a look at his trophy rack today. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are the 10 most powerful characters killed by the Punisher. Number 10. Captain America. During Marvel's first Civil War, the Punisher had a little run-in with Captain America after he gunned down two criminals who attempted to join forces with Cap's anti-registration group. Cap immediately began pummeling the Punisher, but he didn't fight back. For Frank Castle, Captain America is his hero, so he was not going to raise his fist to the man. That's what went down on Earth 616, but over on Earth-11080, Cap and the Punisher's confrontation didn't end as well. In that alternate reality, a virus swept across the planet, infecting everyone. Instead of making them sick or killing them, the virus turned everyone into cannibals. So Captain America organized a squad of himself, Punisher, Deadpool, and Wolverine in an attempt to stop the Hulk and his faction. When they failed to find the Hulk, the team split up, leaving Cap and Castle alone to fight the Hulk's mob. Before long, Cap started to show signs of infection, but he still managed to maintain some control over his mental facilities. Realizing that he was infected though, Cap knelt down to the floor and asked Castle to kill him before he finally turned. Before he pulled the trigger, Castle informed Cap that he was always his hero. Number 9. Dr. Octopus. A 4-issue miniseries titled Space Punisher takes place in the reality designated as Earth 12091, and it's very different from the Marvel universe of Earth 616. In this reality, the Punisher operates in space, as the name implies, and his primary antagonist is a group called the Six-Fingered Hand, and they were responsible for the death of Castle's family. Frank learned from the leader that he was hired by Doc Ock, which infuriated him, leading to a quick capture of the villain. He strapped the Doc to the front of his spaceship and gave him a tour of the galaxy, but in doing so cost Ock the use of his vocal cords. He survived the vacuum of space due to the fact that he could go without oxygen for long periods of time due to being a half-man, half-octopus hybrid. Frank then landed his ship and saw the damage that he'd caused, but when Ock couldn't even whisper the information that Frank was hoping to learn from him, he decided to put him out of his misery. A single shot to the face at point-blank range with a pistol turned Doc Ock's head into a cloudy, bloody mist. Number 8. Cyclops. So the Punisher was once able to go on a one-man killing spree of the entire Marvel Universe in a story titled, pretty aptly, The Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe. Of course, it isn't set on Earth 616 and instead takes place in the reality designated Earth 95126, which has some alterations to the Punisher's story. Now, in this reality, the Punisher lost his family after they got caught in the middle of a superhuman battle, and Frank wasn't exactly best pleased to see his loved ones dead once the fighting had ceased. Cyclops attempted to console Castle and explain that they didn't see his family on the makeshift battlefield, but Frank doesn't hesitate. He pulls his gun out and fires a bullet directly into Cyclops' head, killing him instantly. From there, the Punisher spent the rest of the book ensuring that the people who killed his family, that being superpowered folks, wouldn't cost any more civilians their lives. Number 7. Venom. The Punisher has actually managed to kill Venom at least 2 times in various realities of the Marvel Universe. He's killed him, along with everyone else in The Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe, as I explained before, and he had the chance to take on the symbiote once more in Marvel Universe vs. The Punisher. Now in that story, it's the Marvel Universe out to get Frank Castle, and Venom was working with Spider-Man at this point. Interestingly, the reader is led to believe that Spider-Man is actually the primary antagonist, but it quickly becomes clear that Spidey isn't the character people need to fear, because when Venom went up against the Punisher, they got to beating on one another very quickly, but Frank had a trick up his sleeve in the form of a pistol that shot out a sonic blast. During their fight, he pulled out the sonic pistol and aimed it squarely at Venom. Seeing as he was at a disadvantage, Venom attempted to reason with the Punisher, but Frank wasn't exactly willing to listen to anything that Venom had to say. Without another word, the Punisher pulled the trigger, killing both the Venom symbiote and its host. Number 6. Spider-Man. The Punisher has gone up against Spider-Man numerous times over the years, and he even made his first appearance in The Amazing Spider-Man number 129. Since that debut issue, the Punisher has managed to go after Spider-Man every once in a while on various alternate Earths, and you know what? He's killed him a lot. And one such killing took place on Earth 95126, which, as we all know, is the one where Punisher kills the entire Marvel Universe. Now, their fight takes place in a sewer, but it's a sewer that Frank had previously rigged up with tasers, all of which went off, disabling both Venom and Spider-Man, leaving them utterly helpless. Frank first wastes Eddie Brock, taking Venom out of the equation, and then turns his gun on Spider-Man, who asks why he was being targeted. Frank simply replies, because somebody had to be first. Number 5, Deadpool. If there's one character who's powerful and pretty difficult to kill no matter what you do to him, it's Deadpool. The man is effectively immortal and can recover from pretty much anything, which does pose a problem to somebody like the Punisher. But in Marvel Universe vs. the Punisher, Frank kills Deadpool many times. Now, the killing of Deadpool actually became a bit of a running joke in the book, and every time the Punisher killed him, Deadpool found a way to return to carry on his virus-infected cannibalistic ways. Because remember, this is the reality where everyone turned into insane cannibals, and Deadpool, well, he definitely wasn't immune. So the Punisher wasted him several times, but in the end, he actually managed to kill him in much the same way that a vampire would finally be dispatched. Eventually, Castle manages to put him down with a gunshot to the head, but as we all know, that's only a temporary problem for the merc with a mouth. After killing Deadpool, Castle opted to take the man apart piece by piece. He cut Deadpool into smaller parts and buried those pieces around the city. Doing so theoretically prevented Deadpool from returning, so for all intents and purposes, the Punisher actually finally killed Deadpool. Number 4, The Thing. So imagine that the world has already become insane cannibals, and now you add The Thing into the mix. The Thing had joined forces with an infected Hulk solely to stop any attempt at finding a cure for this. And like the Hulk, he developed his own faction or tribe that included all manner of infected people serving under him. He took up residence with the group in the old Baxter building, which was abandoned when the virus began infecting superpower folks like the Thing. In the story, the Punisher spent a considerable amount of time trying to come up with a way to kill him. After all, he's not exactly easy to kill at the best of times, but he ultimately decided to try armor-piercing missiles. Now, it wasn't explicitly shown that he killed the Thing, but after the Punisher fired them into the Baxter building, nobody seems to have made it out alive, so yeah, chalk one up for Frank Castle. Number 3, Wolverine. Wolverine is one of the hardest characters to kill in the Marvel Universe, thanks to his adamantium lace skeleton and superb healing factor. In numerous stories, he's been shown to recover from blasts that would atomize literally anything else. But if a single cell remains alive, Wolverine can indeed fully recover. This is something that's well known to Frank Castle, and it may have been the reason why Wolverine was one of his last targets on his list in The Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe. After killing pretty much everyone else of importance, he sets his sight on the feisty mutant and found him in an inebriated state, which did make things a little bit easier. The two get into a fight, but it didn't take long for the Punisher to gain the upper hand. When he did, he threw Wolverine into an electric generator, which immediately fried him to a crisp. In fact, it ended up frying him so much that only a skeleton remained when his body dropped back to the ground. Now, this kind of kill probably wouldn't have worked on Earth 616, but clearly Earth 95126 must operate differently. Wolverine was completely fried, and this time there was no coming back, which kind of makes sense seeing as the title of the story is all about the Punisher killing the entire Marvel Universe. Number 2, the Hulk. The Punisher has managed to kill Hulk a few times across various alternate realities. In The Punisher number 37, which saw the Punisher locate Bruce Banner in a rather sickly state, he took him in, nursed him back to health, but found out that Bruce was afflicted with amnesia. Now, this worked to Frank Castle's favour because he had an ulterior motive. So while feeding him, he actually threw in some explosive material along with some supplements to impede digestion, and once that he'd fully laced the right amount inside Bruce Banner, boom! Castle forced a transformation into the Hulk and then pitted him against Wolverine, Spider-Man, and Daredevil. When the Hulk beat everyone, Castle detonated the explosives, ripping the Hulk apart from the inside and forcing a transformation back to a very deceased Banner. And number 1, well, all the mutants. In Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe, Frank Castle managed to do what no other character had done so far. He killed all of the most powerful mutants on the planet, and he did not do it in an honourable way. In the story, the X-Men were summoned along with several other powerful heroes to face off against Magneto, Apocalypse, and many more villains from Marvel's impressive stock of mutants. Once everyone arrived on the moon, they didn't actually fight, and instead stood about confused, wondering why they were actually summoned and by whom. Magneto asked why he was there and what everyone else was doing there too. And it was the old sitcom routine of setting up a date between two people who don't know that they're going to meet the other, but unlike a sitcom, this one ended with a devastating boom. While the group was going over what brought them to the moon, a nifty nuclear bomb that the Punisher had taken from Dr. Doom's lair after he killed him appears in front of everyone, and before anyone can react, it simply detonates, killing everyone in an instant. Well, at least it was efficient.
Magneto was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby for the very first issue of X-Men in September 1963. His ability to control and manipulate magnetic forces has made him one of the most powerful mutants in the world, and one of the Marvel Universe's most feared villains. As a survivor of the Holocaust, Magneto has seen the absolute worst that one side of humanity can do to another. He knows that sometimes it's necessary to kill for the cause, if the cause can hope to succeed. And that is exactly what we're here to talk about today. As I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are the 10 most powerful characters killed by Magneto. Number 10. Nimrods. Bastion was born from the Sentinel Master Mold and is now a Sentinel/human hybrid. When Cable and Hope Summers, who was believed to be the mutant messiah, returned from the future, Bastion sent an army of anti-mutant hate groups to kill her. He also ordered the deaths of all teleporters, or mutants with transportation powers. A large dome was erected over the San Francisco Bay Area, including the X-Men's island base of Utopia. Bastion opened a portal that allowed Nimrod series Sentinels from his own time period to come through and attack the X-Men. X-Force, Cable, and Cypher travel to the future to reprogram the signal and destroy the Nimrod master molds. As the Nimrods are trying to break into the hospital, where an overwhelmed Beast is trying to care for the many wounded individuals from the battles, a severely injured Magneto rises from his bed. In an iconic scene from X-Men Legacy issue 236, Magnus steps outside and is immediately swarmed by a horde of Nimrods. Reminding his foe that the island nation is built on the remains of his old asteroid M, and that it was mostly made of iron, he impales every Nimrod in sight with iron and steel girders. Meanwhile, in the future, Cypher has learned to communicate with the Master Mold, and has taken complete control of all Nimrods, present and future. Number 9. Tarn the Uncaring. Several Omega-level mutants, including Storm and Iceman, from the island nations of Krakoa and Arakko, terraformed the planet Mars, giving it a breathable atmosphere and the ability to sustain life. Arakko and its inhabitants were moved there, and the planet took its name. Storm's Brotherhood of Mutants, Abigail Brand's evil X-Men, and Magneto also took up residence there. But things were far from harmonious. Tarn the Uncaring was an Iraqi mutant, capable of biological and genetic manipulation with a single thought. He was an unrepentant, evil, and violent mutant who had sat on their ruling council, called the Great Ring in the Seat of Loss, for centuries. In X-Men Red issue 3, that was about to change. Brand wanted a member of her X-Men on the Great Ring, and had eldest Summer's brother, Vulcan, challenge Tarn. The Arakkoan killed Vulcan in seconds, prompting Magneto to challenge him. As soon as they enter the Circle Perilous, Magneto slams his helmet down on Tarn's head. Magnus said that he had realized that the mutant's powers were psychokinetic in nature, and that his helmet blocks mental powers. Max also points out that his helmet is metal. Tarn barely has time to let out a whimpered plea before Magneto squashes his head, killing him and taking his seat on the Great Ring. Number 8. Zaladane. Created by Jerry Conway and Barry Windsor Smith, Zaladane, sometimes calling herself Zoladane, claimed to be the half-sister of Polaris, aka Lorna Dane. She became obsessed with acquiring magnetic powers like her sister, and traveled the world. Zaladane eventually ended up in the Savage Land, and became the High Priestess of the Sun People, where she learned to control the region's magical forces, but met defeat at the hands of Kazar. Zaladane allied herself with the enigmatic High Evolutionary, who gave her the magnetic powers that she had long coveted. Using the Evolutionary's technology, Zala stole the magnetic powers from her sister when they met, triggering Lorna's secondary mutation. Using this renewed power, Zaladane resumed her control of the Savage Land, while Magneto, Rogue, Kazar, and Nick Fury invade the region to take it back. Setting the stage for Uncanny X-Men issue 275, Magneto is captured, and Zaladane uses Wyndham's technology to take his powers as well. She also gets his most intimate memories, especially the one of his wife's murder. Rogue, Fury, and Kazar finally battle their way to Zaladain's castle, and Rogue reverses the process, returning Magnus's powers. Enraged by the violation of his body and memories, Magneto easily rips through Zola's army, and once he reaches her, he reverses the flow of the blood in her veins by controlling the iron, leading to a very painful death. So much for the rehabilitation of Magneto. Number 7. Quicksilver. The Scarlet Witch lost her mind when her children were revealed to be the pieces of the demon Master Pandemonium's soul, who reclaimed them. She killed several Avengers, directly and indirectly, and the hero community was deciding what to do with her when Quicksilver convinced Wanda to use her powers to create a better world. She did just that, creating a world where Magneto's family, of which she is part, was the ruling class, and mutants were the dominant species. Carol Danvers became the most popular superhero in the world, Captain America was an elderly retired veteran, and there was a multitude of other changes as well. Hardly anyone remembered the change except for Layla Miller and Wolverine. The pair began to wake up many of the Earth's heroes, and a violent battle began against the House of M. By issue 7 of House of M, Emma Frost and Layla revealed to Magneto that it was Quicksilver behind the creation of this world. Magneto became enraged at his son for so egregiously perverting his dream and killed him by dropping the head of a sentinel on him. Wanda immediately resurrected Pietro and chastised her father. She then said, "Daddy, no more mutants," and the world turned white. When reality was restored, it was as it had always been, except 98% of the world's mutants had lost their powers, and some their lives. Number 6. The Marauders. The Marauders were a group of superpowered mercenaries who worked on behalf of Mr. Sinister. Their work was a dangerous one, and at various times nearly all the members of the Marauders were killed, except Sabretooth, whose healing factor generally saves him from most attacks. After the death of Sinister, a group of Marauder clones is awakened at the Kitakyushu smelting plant in Japan, where Essex kept vials of the legacy virus in his lab. The clones attack the Vanisher and then X-Force, who kill all the clones. Another batch of clones awakens and is gathered by Karma's half-sister, Deo Koiman. They foolishly run afoul of Magneto in Magneto Volume 3, Issue 15. Magnus was determined to make the Marauders pay for what they did to the Morlocks, and killed them all except Sabretooth and Scalp Hunter. Magnus cut both of Greycrow's arms and legs off, and cauterized the wounds so that they wouldn't grow back. When the new Marauder clones were deployed, Magneto took command of them, and the mutants he saved from the Red Skull's concentration camp, and set them to rebuilding the island nation of Genosha. With his MGH-enhanced powers, Max overpowered S.H.I.E.L.D. when they tried to invade the island. Number 5. Wolverine. In the Ultimate Universe of Earth 1610, in the Ultimatum storyline to be exact, Magneto unleashed a massive rainstorm and flood of water that killed millions in Manhattan, due to the deaths of his children Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch. Many heroes died during the initial onslaught, and more were killed either trying to rescue civilians or by Magneto's acolytes. One of these underlings was Jamie Madrox, aka the Multiple Man. Jamie Madrox was sending multiples of himself out as suicide bombers to unleash maximum havoc in the already devastated 5 boroughs of New York City. Several of the duplicates attack the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, and Rogue absorbs Madrox's powers to fight them. Wolverine travels to the Savage Land to find the original brainwashed Madrox, and with the help of Kazar, Logan finds Jamie and kills him to stop the wave of mad bombers worldwide. Wolverine vows to kill Magneto as well for the devastation he has caused, and all the friends that he killed. Logan manages to stab Magnus in the chest, before the Rogue then gains control of Iron Man's repulsors and Cyclops' visor and completely vaporizes Logan. After Magneto is decapitated by Cyclops, his citadel is abandoned and destroyed, eliminating any chance of Wolverine's healing factor rebuilding his form. Number 4. Red Skull. Now, Red Skull and Magneto were destined to be enemies. Johann Schmidt, handpicked by Hitler himself to be part of his Nazi science division, and Max Eisenhardt, the child of Jews who were killed in concentration camps and who saw the horrors of the Holocaust up close. During their first encounter, Magneto locked the Red Skull in an abandoned fallout shelter. In issue 9 of the ongoing Magneto title, it was revealed that the Red Skull grafted Charles Xavier's brain to his own, giving him vast powers. The Nazi villain opened up a concentration camp in the remains of the destroyed island of Genosha to exterminate mutants. Magnus travelled there to confront the Skull, but due to his waning powers, he was captured. Schmidt's lackey, MZ, was about to torture the mutant, but he was saved by Avengers Unity Squad members Havoc, Rogue, and the Scarlet Witch. The trio of heroes tried to convince Magneto not to pursue the Red Skull and his S-Men, but Max was having none of it. He even accused Rogue of betraying mutant kind and abandoning Charles' dream. The Skull used his powers to immobilize the Avengers and taunt them, especially Wanda. He was unaware Magneto was free, as Max took a dose of mutant growth hormone restoring his powers, which he then used to kill the S-Men and beat the Red Skull to death. Number 3. Jean Grey, aka Phoenix. In the Grant Morrison written New X-Men issue 150, the mutant healer Zorn was revealed as their greatest enemy, Magneto. The X-Men are scattered across the world. The Phoenix, Jean Grey, and Wolverine are somewhere in the universe, and Magnus is atop a skyscraper in Manhattan, threatening to tilt the Earth's axis, which would kill millions, if not billions, of people. The US government is ready to deploy ceramic planes with neutron warheads that will kill anyone with a mutation. Magneto's own underlings, except for the Toad, have lost faith in him, and Beck's arrival opens the door for Phantom X to shoot him. Cyclops emerges violently from the floor beneath Magnus and hits him repeatedly. Scott narrows the eye beams and shoots them directly into the face opening of Eric's mask, shattering it, and burning his hair and face. Beast convinces the White House to hold off on their bomb, and the X-Men, including an awoken Xavier, Jean Grey, and Wolverine, take on Magneto. They inform him that returning was the worst thing he could have done. Magneto was a revered martyr, and he is making a mockery of that image. Magnus is beaten badly, and right before he succumbs, he touches Phoenix and transfers all his power to her, giving her a heart attack. Wolverine goes feral with rage and beheads Magneto, and as Jean dies, the world goes white. Number 2. Professor Xavier. On Earth 1610, the Ultimate Universe, the Scarlet Witch was killed by Ultron, when the villainous robot realized that she would never love him. After returning to his father's side, Quicksilver is mortally wounded defending Magneto. Sometime later, a lightning storm suddenly appeared over the skies of New York City, and a tidal wave flooded Manhattan, killing millions. Sue Storm was able to push the wall of water back out to sea, but the effort put her into a coma. Professor Xavier reveals that Magneto is behind the disaster, and he's in control of Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. A number of heroes try to save as many people as they can. Jessica Drew saves May Parker, Kitty Pryde faces racism while trying to save a subway train full of people, and Hawkeye and Giant Man discover the Blob eating the dead body of the Wasp. In Ultimatum Issue 2, at the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, Magneto confronts Professor Xavier. Eric tells Charles that the deaths of his children merely opened his eyes to the fact that humans were on a steady decline, spreading disease, war, famine, and ecological ruin to the world. Magnus refers to what he did as akin to the flood in the Bible, but Xavier tells him that he is not God and will be remembered instead as a monster. An enraged Magneto then snaps Charles Xavier's neck, killing him. Number 1. Apocalypse. On Earth 295, Charles Xavier's son, David Haller, aka Legion, traveled back in time to kill Magneto, but he inadvertently killed his own father, and inspired ancient mutant En-Sabah-Nur to begin a campaign of culling the weak of the world. This was the beginning of the Age of Apocalypse. To honor his fallen friend, Magnus took on Xavier's dream of a world where mutants and humans could live in harmony. Magneto brought together a team of mutants he called X-Men to battle the forces of Apocalypse. After multiple battles where several of the X-Men were killed, including Magneto's daughter, Scarlet Witch, Eric was captured and tortured by Apocalypse to find out his plans. One part of the torture was to have to watch the brutal battle of Magnus' wife Rogue against the Eternal Mutant's own son, Holocaust. After freeing captured mutants Ilyana Rasputin, Bishop, and Destiny, they stormed Apocalypse's citadel and freed Magneto. In X-Men Omega Issue 1, with the assistance of his alternate reality clone, Nate Grey, Magneto took the fight to Apocalypse. After Nate beat the ancient mutant viciously, Magnus unleashed the full fury of his magnetic powers against En-Sabah-Nur. In an act of righteousness and viciousness rarely seen in Magneto, he ripped Apocalypse completely in half, killing him instantly. Jean Grey saved the planet from nuclear attack, and the mutants went about rebuilding their world.
True to his former career as a war profiteer, Iron Man is not above killing his opponents when the need arises. While he is not always a cold-blooded killer, the tech-based hero has been forced in situations where the only option was putting an end to his enemy's life. That said, there have been instances that have seen Stark off his foes in unusually brutal fashion. So let's dive in. I'm Adam, this is What Culture Comics, and here are 10 most powerful characters killed by Iron Man. Number 10. Yellow Jacket, Avengers: The Crossing. The Yellow Jacket mantle originally belonged to Hank Pym for a while, but as with most superhero identities, it has been held by multiple individuals. A former, albeit reluctant, criminal and member of the Masters of Evil, Rita Damara eventually switched over to the side of the Angels and joined the futuristic Guardians of the Galaxy following an alien invasion. She spent a considerable amount of time with the extraterrestrial group before returning to Earth to warn the Avengers of a future disaster. Upon returning to the present, she found the heroes going toe-to-toe with a brainwashed Iron Man. Kang the Conqueror, under the guise of Immortus, tricked Tony into fighting his friends, and in the process, the inventor killed an unsuspecting Damara. Fortunately, she was resurrected in the Chaos War, but has not been seen since. This version of Yellow Jacket was not as powerful as Hank Pym, but she still used the Pym particles to decent effect during her time as a villain and hero. While Damara is yet to appear in any Marvel media outside of the comics, at least a version of Yellow Jacket got the jump on Iron Man in the MCU's multiverse-spanning What If animated series. Number 9. Titanium Man, Armor Wars, 1984. Admittedly, this kill is not as direct as the rest of Iron Man's murders, but Tony's notable involvement ensures that the second Titanium Man's death warrants a place on this list. Kondraty Topolov, also known as the Gremlin, was a mutant who inherited his father, Yuri Topolov/Gargoyle's radiation-induced physical deformation, as well as his superhuman intelligence. In addition to this, he followed in his father's footsteps and became a scientist who developed gear for the Soviet Super Troopers, and also partook in various forms of genetic engineering and further weapons development. These activities later saw him clash with the likes of the Hulk, X-Men, and Iron Man, the latter of which would prove fatal. During the Armor Wars storyline, Topolov donned an updated version of the Titanium Man armor and went head-to-head with Iron Man. The American suit proved to be inferior to his Soviet counterparts, as he was wearing a weapons-light stealth suit. While attempting to flee, Tony unintentionally ignited Topolov's armor, and this heated the villain's suit, causing it to explode and kill him in the process. Number 8. Malin Extremis. Extremis, the 2005/2006 six-issue arc, is regarded as a seminal Iron Man story and in some ways shaped the MCU version of the character. The tale saw a reimagined Armored Avenger experience immense challenges, but also receive a significant boost in power due to the eponymous serum. The virus was administered to Malin, a domestic terrorist who had strong grievances with authority. From it, he gained superhuman attributes potent enough to confront Iron Man in his suit, a healing factor, fire, and electricity generation, as well as pincers that can tear through metal. After his incubation period, Extremis causes its recipients to go into deep hibernation. The extremist emerged from his cocoon and began to wreak havoc, severely injuring Tony in the process. After the latter received a modified version of the drug, he confronted Malin once again, and after an emotionally charged and violent fight, a reluctant and remorseful Tony blasts off his opponent's head when it became clear he would not yield. Number 6. War Machine, Armor Wars 2015. Few would expect to find Tony Stark's best friend on such a list, but in a multiverse of limitless possibilities, it stands to reason that there would be a James Rhodey Rhodes who would antagonize the Armored Avenger at some point. This was most certainly the case in the 2015 Armor Wars miniseries, which was itself part of the mega crossover event Secret Wars. The miniseries followed the technologically advanced realm of Technopolis, a domain whose inhabitants were forced to wear Iron Man suits due to the presence of an airborne virus. Its Thor Corps, God Emperor Doom's Mjolnir-powered police force operative was War Machine, and he began investigating the nature of the disease and its connection to the Stark family. This intensified after the Spider-Man of this realm was supposedly murdered by Kingpin's men for also conducting his own investigation. After further digging, Jim discovered that Tony was responsible for Peter's death, as well as the severity of the disease plaguing the domain. To prevent this from leaking, Tony killed Rhodes, but it was all in vain as his family's role in developing the disease was revealed to Technopolis. Number 5. Magneto, Exiles Volume 1, number 23. The leader of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, Max Eisenhardt/Eric Lenscher's metal manipulation abilities makes him one of the most powerful beings on the planet, mutant or otherwise. His mind-blowing feats of power include ripping Wolverine's adamantium-coated skeleton from his body, fight off multiple Avengers, and of course, manhandle Iron Man. The last feat is a given, seeing that the latter's suits serve as fodder for the master of magnetism usually. Tony is a genius who has developed numerous suits over the years after all, so if given enough time, he can develop the appropriate countermeasures for his mutant opponent. This was definitely the case in the 23rd issue of the universe-jumping Exiles Vol. Volume 1, a story that explored an alternate world where Iron Man took over the planet and killed a swath of super beings by starting a human and mutant war. Individuals such as Captain America and Doctor Doom were some of the casualties in this conflict. After the conflict ended, Tony murdered Max on national television in an attempt to legitimize his rise to power. Number 3. Doctor Doom, Iron Man number 17. Victor Von Doom is without a doubt one of Marvel's most enduring and intimidating villains. Doom is primarily a Fantastic Four, but has been at odds with the wider Marvel Universe on multiple occasions. So great in his skill and knowledge that he is considered second only to Reed Richards and Stephen Strange in science and the mystic arts, respectively. All this puts into perspective just how dangerous this opponent is during one of his rare losses. This was certainly the case in 2022's Iron Man Volume 6, where a cosmic-powered Tony, now dubbed the Iron God, commits questionable acts due to his power-charged hubris. Prior to this, in an attempt to stop the powerful Michael Korvac, Tony tapped into the source of the villain's strength and opted to keep this newfound might. This decision did not sit right with his fellow do-gooders, and Von Doom, who the heroes saw as the one person who could outsmart Stark, and they confronted the Iron God, only for the intervention to head horribly south when Tony kills Victor by turning him into dust. Finally, after multiple heroes are dead, War Machine included, the corrupted hero snaps out of his delusion after his fiancée Hellcat highlights his hypocrisy. Number 2. Silver Surfer, Iron Man number 17. Norrin Radd is known for his soulful, contemplative, and noble nature in universe and among readers. In addition to this, the Zen-Lavian is renowned for his immense might due to the power cosmic, and is considered by many to be one of Marvel's most powerful non-Skyfather/cosmic entity beings. Just like Doctor Doom in the last entry, anytime the Surfer loses, it is monumental and highlights the threat posed by his opponent. After all, this is a being who can fly through suns, survive black holes, and tangle with the likes of Thor, Thanos, and Wonder Man. As mentioned before, the recently christened Iron God let his overwhelming power get to his head, and this led to the horrifying deaths of his allies, Norrin included. Tony melting the Sentinel of the Spaceways without so much as breaking a sweat is chilling to see, as it highlights just how far Tony was willing to go in the name of reshaping the world as he sees fit. Number 1. Galactus, Marvel Zombies' Dead Days. A primordial cosmic entity, Galactus is easily one of the Marvel Universe's most powerful beings, and can easily mow his way through multiple teams of powerhouse heroes. This is unsurprising since the being, formerly known as Galen of Tar, wields the power cosmic, and is fueled by consuming whole worlds. That said, the Devourer of Worlds is not all-powerful, as evidenced by the gory thrills of the Marvel Zombies series. After his Herald, the Silver Surfer, was eaten by the zombified heroes of Earth, Galactus makes his way to the planet to confront the heroes, which included the likes of Iron Man, Hulk, Spider-Man, and Luke Cage. Initially, he fared off fairly well against the undead humans, despite them being powered by his former Herald's cosmic energies. This advantage was, however, short-lived, as the zombies devised a weapon to weaken the extraterrestrial being and then fed off him, gaining even more power in the process.
In a universe filled with metahumans, alien powerhouses, and supernatural beings, Wonder Woman stands out as one of the strongest heroes in the DC universe. Diana's godlike powers are comparable to beings such as Shazam and Superman, and her combat skill is so great that Batman himself considers her one of the best fighters on the planet. But what separates the amazing Amazon from most of her comrades is that when the chips are down and all other options have been exhausted, she is willing to kill. And that's what we're here to talk about today, as I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are the 10 most powerful characters killed by Wonder Woman. Number 10. Huntress. The Injustice series of comics makes for compelling reading, but it doesn't portray most heroes in a flattering light, and Wonder Woman is one such character. While the likes of Batman and Harley Quinn get layers of intriguing and organic characterization, Diana is reduced to a rebound, with an unquenched desire for authoritarian murder. In the third year of Superman's tyrannical reign, the regime and insurgency engage in a sprawling fight, and Diana takes on Batwoman and the Huntress. Usually, the two street-level heroes would be no match for the Amazon, but they were amped up by a Kryptonian nanotech-based pill, giving them incredible physical attributes on par with Kal-El and Diana. During the fight, Helena calls her former teammates tyrants, and this angered Diana, who in turn wrapped her lasso around Helena's neck and swiftly snapped it, killing her in the process. This kill is especially noteworthy, as it was not intentional, as evidenced by Diana's shocked reaction. It highlighted just how much rage and darkness had consumed Wonder Woman, and her allies' better judgment. Number 9. Von Bach. The seminal Kingdom Come arc by Mark Waid and Alex Ross showcases an alternate future where DC mainstays are replaced by more violent and bloodthirsty heroes, and focuses on the subsequent clash between the old guard and their youthful counterparts. Having come out of retirement alongside Superman, Wonder Woman helped the former establish a new Justice League in order to combat the new ilk of vicious villains that emerged during their time away from the Cape. One such individual was Von Bak, a Yugoslavian dictator with strength and endurance rivaling that of Diana's. Taken to a metahuman rehabilitation center called the Gulag, the superpowered autocrat instigated a battle between the center's wardens and the prisoners by killing Captain Comet, its main warden. During the ensuing chaos, Von Bak met his end at Wonder Woman's spear after he tried to kill Zatanna's son, Zatara. Although he was not a major player in the story, his death was satisfying due to how despicable he was as a character. Number 8. Maxwell Lord. Arguably one of Diana's most notorious moments in comics, the killing of Maxwell Lord further alienated her from Batman and Superman, and fractured the heroes enough to leave them unprepared for the then approaching Infinite Crisis. While Lord is no physical powerhouse, his mind-controlling abilities made him immensely dangerous, especially after taking control of the Man of Steel himself, with the intent of wiping out Earth's superhuman populace. Max sets his eyes on Wonder Woman, and was able to convince Superman that the Amazon is Doomsday, and has just killed Lois Lane. Diana puts up a valiant fight against her enthralled teammate, but Clark's rage is overwhelming, and the heroine takes damage as a result. Fortunately, she restrains the last son of Krypton by exploiting his superhuman senses, and uses her lasso to get Lord to reveal that the mind control can only stop after his death. While shocking, Diana's fatal act saved countless lives from imminent doom, and prevented Clark from having so much blood on his hands. Number 7. Triton. As we will see throughout this list, the Greek pantheon in the DC universe is just as dysfunctional as its real-life mythological counterpart, and Diana's ties to it means that she has had her fair share of complicated tangles with these godly beings. One such encounter was with Triton, the son of the god of the seas, Poseidon. Usually an Aquaman villain, the deity shared his father's incredible abilities but lacked his mercy, and was far crueler as a result. This proved to be his undoing after he orchestrated, along with Black Manta's help, the kidnapping and killing of the Wonder Scouts, children who sought refuge on Themyscira. Arthur was able to stop Diana from killing Manta, but could not restrain the enraged heroine from snapping Triton's neck once his role in the heinous act was revealed. After the oceanic deity was murdered, his father chastised the Amazon for her decision, but forgave her due to the despicable nature of Triton's actions. Number 6. Mera. Flashpoint is about as sprawling and mind-boggling as alternate reality stories get, and its depiction of a world at superhuman instigated war due to Barry Allen's actions is compelling, and sets the stage for the New 52. In this new timeline, Wonder Woman is not a graceful warrior and diplomat, but is instead the ruthless queen of Themyscira, and is at war with Aquaman and Atlantis. Before this, the two nations were in the process of forming an alliance, after the Themyscirans aided the Atlanteans against an unknown threat. Not long after, Diana and Arthur began a secret affair that Mera quickly got wind of, and vowed to retaliate. The two monarchs clashed, and Diana swiftly overcame her hydrokinetic opponent, and killed her. To add insult to injury, the Amazonian demigoddess sent Mera's decapitated head to Arthur as a declaration of war. This gesture eventually led to a mythical clash between the two hidden civilizations that would ravage the world, before Barry once again reset the timeline and erased these apocalyptic events. Number 5. Deimos. Following the continuity-altering Crisis on Infinite Earths, Wonder Woman's story was revamped in order to tie her closer to her Pantheon roots. This was seen in one of her earliest conflicts with Ares, in a Len Wein and George Perez penned storyline that saw the God of War taking over Washington with the intent of causing a nuclear holocaust. Diana and her allies confront Deimos and Phobos in the American capital, and are immediately overwhelmed by their fear and hair-based abilities. Deimos employed his tendril-based beard to ensnare the heroine, and prevent her from confronting his father. This worked for a little bit, before Wonder Woman finished him off with a precise toss of her tiara. This act played a key role in saving the world from annihilation, but also took a lot out of Diana, as Amazons in this era of DC lore were not predisposed to committing senseless violence. This is what separated this comic run from the animated movie it inspired 2 decades later, where the Amazon was more inclined to employing lethal force where needed. Number 4. Medusa. From one mythological being suffering from a bad hair day to another. Medusa considered Wonder Woman one of her greatest foes in the modern era, due to her ties to Athena, a goddess who betrayed Medusa and sent her on the path that would see her transform into her monstrous Gorgon form. Over the years, the two powerhouses engaged in fierce battles that would see Diana's allies severely affected by the vengeful Medusa. These bouts culminated in a final clash orchestrated by the gods themselves, with Medusa not only fighting to kill Diana, but also turn millions to stone as the fight was to be televised. Diana fares well in the beginning, despite fighting while blindfolded, but Medusa eventually gains the upper hand and forces her opponent to look upon her petrifying gaze. In the heat of the moment, the Amazon grabs one of Medusa's severed strands of snake hair and uses it to blind herself, ensuring that she would be protected from the gaze, and proceeded to decapitate her foe. It's one of Wonder Woman's most inventive kills, and highlights her quick thinking and resilience in the heat of battle. Number 3. Ares, aka War. The God of War's demise in the 2017 film was not the first time Diana was forced to kill her warmongering kin. The New 52 revamped the warring duo's dynamic and gave them a mentor-protege style relationship, despite their differing moral codes and personalities. Going by the name War in this continuity, the Grecian god trained his younger sister in the way of combat, but abandoned her when he realized that Diana was willing to show mercy to her opponents, despite her vast potential for violence. Their relationship is further complicated by the introduction of the Firstborn, one of Zeus's children, who lacked the restraint normally employed by his siblings. After several encounters, Diana and War faced their unpredictable sibling after he attempted to kill some of Diana's allies, but the situation headed south rather quickly, and its potential outcome forced the Amazon to murder her brother. It turns out that this was part of War's gambit, as he intended for Diana to take his mantle as the new God of War. Number 2. Firstborn. As mentioned earlier, the New 52 saw the introduction of Firstborn. Zeus and Hera's actual first child, the deviant deity was prophesied to rule over Olympus and build his reign on untold death and destruction. Upon hearing this, the God King ordered the baby's death, but Hera saved his life, a decision that would come back to haunt Olympus as well as Wonder Woman and the Amazons. He would later cross paths with the superheroine after Poseidon told him that she was the key to his plans of usurping the throne and the death of the gods. However, his vicious nature and total disregard for Diana's loved ones inevitably put the half-siblings at odds, and his godly power cemented his role as one of her most dangerous antagonists. After his deicidal murder spree was halted by Wonder Woman, Firstborn attempted to complete his goal one last time, by killing the former as well as Hippolyta, who was ill at the time. However, Diana did not hesitate to put him down for good, after he revealed that he also planned to conquer Themyscira after wiping out Olympus. Number 1. Superman. The Man of Steel is actually one of Wonder Woman's closest allies and friends, but this has not stopped them from coming to blows on several occasions. While Kal-El might have the slight physical edge and more versatile power set, Diana's own might and superior skill have enabled her to more than hold her own. This dynamic was taken to its logical extreme in Wonder Woman Dead Earth, a 4-part miniseries that chronicles a Diana who is forced to protect what remains of the planet after a cataclysm of her own doing. Following a devastating nuclear war between humanity and the Amazons, a vengeful and grief-stricken Diana is out for blood after learning that Superman redirected a missile intended for Smallville towards the Amazons' home island. She viciously attacks the hero, and the fight wrecks what is left of the planet. Due to Superman's unwillingness to fight, some kryptonite shards, and Diana removing her gauntlets, therefore giving her access to her full power, the demigoddess absolutely demolishes the Boy Scout before ultimately killing him. This brutal bout and its aftermath are a terrifying reminder of what Diana is truly capable of, and easily cement her as one of the Justice League's most powerful members.
Ever since he made his debut in 1962, Bruce Banner's rage-fueled alter ego has shown time and time again that he is one of the most powerful heroes in all of Marvel Comics. But at the same time, his lack of control in most instances has also made him an especially destructive liability. Let's just say that in his time, he's racked up more than a few glorious kills. So let's take a look at them today. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are the 10 most powerful characters killed by the Hulk. Number 10. Multiple Gladiators. Planet Hulk. By the time that Planet Hulk was getting to its climax, the Jolly Green Giant had become a kind of benevolent leader of the gladiatorial planet Sakaar. Despite his relatively noble intentions, the hero's journey to the top was marked by bloodshed, an unsurprising outcome given the savage nature of the planet and its main source of entertainment. After being convinced that he was the only person that could stop a rogue satellite, the Hulk was transported into deep space by the Illuminati. Upon arriving on Sakaar, the Hulk is captured captured by the Red King, who was the planet's ruler at the time, due to being weakened by the wormhole that brought him to the planet. A less than efficient Banner is then forced to fight various powerful creatures to the death for the Red King's amusement, winning every match as well as the favour of the planet's inhabitants. Given that each fight was meant to have a fatal outcome, the Hulk slaughters many formidable opponents before the Red King's vicious sport is brought to an end. This is the only entry in which the Hulk is essentially forced to kill off his opponents, and as a result the kills are not as bloodthirsty in intent compared to the rest. Number 9. Iron Man. Marvel Zombies 2. The Marvel Zombies series may have played with zombie lore in some interesting ways, but it ultimately was an excuse for writers and artists to place beloved Marvel icons in sort of increasingly gory and unsettling scenarios. It's not a knock on the storytelling choices by any means, but seeing Hulk dismember and eat multiple characters, and this is not the last time that will appear on this list, is oddly fitting given the monstrous nature of the Hulk and his increasing lack of control over it. One hero that met his gruesome end at the hands of a zombified Hulk is the armored Avenger himself, Iron Man. Before his demise, this version of Tony Stark was turned into the undead by an infected Fantastic Four, and went on to join the zombified heroes, Hulk included, in satiating their uncontrollable hunger. During this time, the heroes even got the incredible power of Galactus by consuming him. With their newfound power, the now named Zombie Galacti spent several decades traversing the universe, and along the way, Tony began to regain his sanity as Hulk began to give in to his hunger. This culminated in him trying to protect a handful of survivors from a rampaging Hulk, who in turn broke through his armor and instantly killed him. Number 8. Wonder Man. The Last Avengers Story. The Last Avengers Story is a bit of a mixed bag, as it was too quickly paced and lacks quite a lot of depth, meaning that the Avengers' swan song doesn't really have time to sit with the reader. That being said, it does feature a handful of rather impressive moments, one of which featured the Hulk himself. After Kang the Conqueror finds Ultron's plans in the future and uses them to kill most of the Avengers, the team is a shell of its former self. Hank Pym attempts to reform a new, less capable and prepared team, with most of its members being the children of deceased or disappeared heroes. In flashbacks to the events prior to the Avengers' downfall, it was revealed that the Hulk was the only survivor of the Great Cataclysm, a world-ending event in Olympus. This event changed the Behemoth's morality, making him a liability to his allies. This change led to him killing the hero Tigra, and this forced Wonder Man to attack the Hulk. After a vicious battle between the two, the Hulk punches Wonder Man's shell, and the latter's energy killed them both. Killing Wonder Man is no small feat due to his power levels nearing the likes of Thor and Sentry, meaning that the Hulk's act was undeniably impressive, as well as being utterly shocking. Number 7. The Abomination. The Ultimates Volume 2. Much has been said about the Ultimate Marvel and its edgy reimagining of classic Marvel characters, but yet this ambitious but flawed initiative cannot be faulted for committing to the violently absurd execution of its premise. The Ultimate version of the Hulk embodies this to a T, as this incarnation of the character is a brute, teeters very close to the edge of villainy one too many times. Also, he's for some reason developed a taste for human flesh, which coupled with his strength makes him more of a disturbing horror villain than a supposed superhero slash anti-hero, and a major threat in the Ultimate Universe. Among those who meet their untimely end in the jaws of the Hulk include Herr Kleiser, his co-workers, and, of course, the Abomination. The latter is often a physical match for the Hulk in the main timeline, but in the Ultimate Universe, he is nothing more than just literal fodder for this gamma-powered being. The Abomination, here played by Chang Lam, was a Chinese scientist who ingested the same super soldier serum that Banner took and became a beast in the same vein as Hulk. Unfortunately, he just couldn't match up to the Hulk's raw strength and was eaten by the not-so-jolly Green Giant. Number 6. By Beast, Armageddon, and Fin Fang Foom. Incredible Hulks Volume 1. Most adaptations of Betty Ross outside of the comics often relegate her to a helpless romantic interest who serves as Bruce's tether to his humanity. Now, while this may be true to her initial characterization, in recent years she has taken on a more powerful and monstrous form. One of these is the Red She-Hulk, a being who is in the vein of her father's superhuman form and has taken on Hulk himself multiple times. One of these occasions was incredibly destructive, to the point where it wiped out 3 Marvel powerhouses in one blow. During the events of Incredible Hulks Volume 1, the Hulk, Doctor Strange, and Red She-Hulk were in the Dark Dimension going up against a horde of mindless ones, and due to the presence of such volatile individuals, the situation was spiraling out of control. At one point, Hulk angers Betty and they charge at each other and collide with enough forced to destroy the planet that they were on, but this collision had the side effect of wiping out formidable beings such as Beast, Armageddon, and Fin Fang Foom, all of whom were incredibly powerful and were considered to be Hulk-level threats. Although their deaths were undone by the story's end, this feat showcased Hulk's near-peerless might. Number 5. Silver Surfer, Marvel Zombies. One of 2 kills on this list that saw Hulk murder the powerhouse alongside other heroes, the Silver Surfer's death was one of many signs that all hope was lost in the retroactively titled universe of 2149. If the Silver Surfer, being one of the most powerful cosmic beings in Marvel, can be so quickly and brutally wiped out, then what chance does the universe stand against these superpowered zombies? The Sentinel of the Spaceways traveled to Earth to warn the heroes about Galactus' impending arrival, more on him later, and the reception that he got was nowhere near helpful, as here the heroes were already zombified, and so they begin attacking the Surfer. Now he easily fights them off, but he makes the mistake of underestimating their destructive capability. An angered Hulk then charges at the Surfer, and the latter retaliates with his power cosmic beams. This effort does not faze Banner at all, and he proceeds to bite off the Surfer's head, killing him instantly. This feat was extremely impressive due to the Surfer being one of the most powerful beings, cosmic or otherwise, in Marvel, capable of routinely besting various heroes and surviving world-ending phenomena. Number 4. Thanos, Marvel Zombies 2. Although the MCU's version of Thanos is a formidable opponent, his comic version is on another tier altogether. In addition to his near unparalleled physical capabilities, comic Thanos is capable of manipulating various cosmic energies, as well as possessing telepathy and telekinesis. He's also capable of going toe-to-toe with the likes of Odin and even stagger Galactus himself with a powerful energy blast. So seeing him be effortlessly killed off by a zombified Hulk in the second Marvel Zombies installment is both shocking and rather impressive. After having killed Galactus and consuming his power alongside Spider-Man, Luke Cage, and Iron Man, Hulk and the latter heroes go off into the stars in search of more food. During this time, they turn characters such as Thanos, Firelord, and Gladiator into zombies and create a new reign of cosmic zombie terror. The now undead Thanos takes issue with Hulk's gluttonous behavior and calls him out for it. Naturally, Hulk is not pleased with this accusation, and despite Iron Man's best efforts to calm the behemoths down, the Jade Giant kills the Mad Titan by clapping his hands around the latter's head. This action is both unexpected and rather stomach-churning, but it captures the story's overall random approach to extreme violence. Number 3. Onslaught, Onslaught, Marvel Universe. One of the more obscure characters on this list now, Onslaught's relative lack of notoriety is not an indication of his staggering power levels. If anything, the world-threatening psychic love child of Professor X and Magneto has demonstrated enough power to threaten and overpower the Avengers and X-Men simultaneously. After taking shape following a particularly brutal psychic attack from Xavier on Magneto, Onslaught took on the worst mental aspects of each mutant and became a psionic entity in its own right. It took over Xavier's body and began causing chaos in the mutant community, attacking the likes of Juggernaut and Nate Grey before commanding an army of Sentinels to wipe out humanity. This forced the X-Men to team up with the Avengers and Fantastic Four to stop this entity and rescue Xavier in the process. Their efforts to rescue the telepath separated Onslaught from him, and his new form proved to be even harder to stop now that Xavier could not influence him. Having received a boost from Jean Grey, the Hulk put in his best effort to stop the entity and was finally able to crack his armor, before Thor and a few other heroes dissipated his psionic form. Number 2. Galactus, Marvel Zombies Dead Days. As mentioned before, consuming the Silver Surfer's body gave the Hulk and his zombified cohorts incredible cosmic power that fueled their hunger-pang-driven quest. That said, they were about to receive another incredible boost in power in the form of the World Devourer himself, Galactus. True to the Silver Surfer's warning, the godlike entity showed up to the planet with every intention of consuming it. However, just like his herald, Galactus did not encounter the same kind of opposition from Earth's mightiest heroes that he may have expected. Initially, the zombified heroes didn't fare well against this cosmic entity due to his superior power, but they quickly regrouped and developed a weapon capable of weakening the latter's defenses. Now weakened, Galactus became an all-you-can-eat buffet for the heroes, and they proceeded to consume him and in turn gain even more cosmic power. This instance is a great showcase for the zombies' relentlessness as well as their intelligence despite their condition. Also, seeing the likes of Hulk chomp down on a dying Galactus is not something you see every day in mainline Marvel, so there's that as well. And number 1, the entire universe. Immortal Hulk number 25. So where do you go when you've defeated armored geniuses, superhumans, and cosmic beings? Well, some would say that they would just call it a day with their violent exploits, but the Hulk is not one to rest on his laurels. This was best seen in the 25th issue of the Immortal Hulk series, a comic that served as a vehicle for Hulk to essentially smash the entire universe to pieces. For those who may not be in the know, the incarnation of the Immortal Hulk first debuted in June 2018, and is the product of Bruce Banner and the Hulk's multiple deaths and rebirths. This version of the Behemoth essentially served as the one below all Marvel's version of Death's avatar and was meant to be a tool to destroy the multiverse. The apocalyptic entity possessed Banner and killed off imposing beings such as Franklin Richards and Galactus before spending the next 10 billion years destroying everything in the universe. He even devoured Eternity, the very personification of the Marvel Universe itself. True to the story's surreal and nihilistic nature, the artwork here expertly blends cosmic and body horror to showcase the Hulk's unlimited and almighty destructive might.
For most of his 84-year history in various media, Superman has been defined by the restraint he employs while using his incredible abilities in combat. But there have been some instances where good old Supes has taken some lives in the heat of battle. So, with this in mind, I'm Dan from What Culture, and these are the 10 most powerful characters killed by Superman. Number 10. Doomsday, the death of Superman. Following his escape from his underground tomb, Doomsday went on a destructive rampage throughout the country that eventually attracted the Justice League's attention. After a brief but violent encounter with the Behemoth, only Clark was left standing to face the new and powerful threat. Doomsday's animalistic rage and sheer might forced the hero to tap into the reserves of power he had previously held back, just to keep up with his opponent. And naturally, this display of strength proved to be dangerous for both combatants, as well as the various environments they clashed in. While the Man of Steel was able to put down the threat before it escalated any further, it came at the expense of his own life. Subsequent encounters with the monster have seen the hero win by the skin of his teeth, due to Doomsday's terrifying regenerative abilities. Number 9. General Zod, Superman number 22. Not too long after his origin, abilities, and nature were rebooted in Crisis on Infinite Earths, Superman was placed in the uncomfortable position of having to kill to save countless lives. Through the machinations of the Time Trapper, the mainstream Superman encounters a younger version of himself from a pocket universe that was similar to the pre-Crisis timeline. This meant that Superboy and all Kryptonians from this time were significantly more powerful than Clark, and the latter got first-hand experience of this when he encountered that time's General Zod. The villain went on a destructive rampage throughout the alternate timeline, and Superman was forced to intervene after his counterpart had died earlier on. Ultimately, the hero depowered and killed the rogue alien, using a combination of gold and green kryptonite respectively. While the pocket universe was spared, this execution weighed heavily on the hero, who up to this point had never taken a life. Number 8. The Flash, deceased. In 2019's Deceased, the Earth is infected by a techno-organic virus that was born out of Darkseid's interference with Cyborg's body. The virus quickly spreads over the planet and infects many civilians and heroes alike, including the Flash. A zombified Barry then zips around the planet, infecting countless people in the process. Realizing that he is the only one who can keep up with this hero, Superman flies around the world and collides into his former teammate, instantly killing him. Unfortunately, some of the Flash's remains get lodged into Superman's side, infecting him in the process. Then, the zombified Kryptonian goes on a frenzied path of his own that culminates in him absorbing the sun itself to wipe out the entire solar system. Number 7. Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, absolute power. In this timeline, Superman and Batman were raised by the futuristic legion of supervillains to be global dictators. And, fitting with the territory, this new version of the beloved heroes were vicious murderers who held nothing back while dealing with any opposition they came across. During a clash with Wonder Woman, Uncle Sam, and the Freedom Fighters, Diana kills this version of Bruce Wayne, and this angers Clark, who viciously beats the heroine into submission before strangling her with her own lasso of truth. Fortunately, after much time hopping and multiple deaths for the titular heroes, the timeline was reset and the damage done by the Legion of Supervillains was undone, ensuring that the world's finest followed their intended paths in the timeline. Number 6. Shazam, Injustice Gods Among Us Year 1. The Injustice comics and games have seen Superman commit countless atrocities throughout his 5-year reign over the planet. From killing Green Arrow, the Joker, and untold numbers of innocents, there was no line that Kal-El would not cross in his quest for his version of global order. Towards the end of his reign, the former hero began to lose the trust of his allies. One such hero was Billy Batson, who became disillusioned with his teammates' decision to raze Gotham and whatever remained of Metropolis to the ground. The young hero made the mistake of invoking the late Lois Lane's name to call out the cruelty of Superman's plan. This enraged the unstable Kryptonian, and before Shazam could use his eponymous phrase to defend himself, Superman sealed Billy's mouth shut with his freeze breath and used his heat vision to burn through his head, killing him in the process. Number 5. Mogo and Ganthet. Injustice Gods Among Us Year 2. A sentient planet, Mogo at some point joined the Green Lantern Corps, but was not known for being the most outgoing being out there, what with being a living planet and all. That said, he is one of the most powerful Green Lanterns alive, and it's easy to see why. This made his death at the hands of the Yellow Lantern Superman all the more shocking in the Injustice comic series. Before encountering the now tyrannical Man of Steel, Mogo proved instrumental in wiping out a significant number of the Sinestro Corps members, and was a key component in confronting the fallen hero and his villainous allies. But unfortunately for them, Superman possessed a Yellow Lantern ring, and this boosted his already considerable power and made him even more of a threat to Mogo himself. Then, Supes used his newfound power to push Mogo into the sun, killing both him and Ganthet in the process. Number 4. A Rogue Sun Eater. Action Comics number 847. Worried about her son's well-being in the Phantom Zone, Martha Kent expresses concern to Jonathan about the impending invasion from Zod and his allies. Jonathan attempts to alleviate his wife's woes by sharing a tale about their son's indomitable will in the face of adversity. A while back, the father and son embarked on an interstellar trip that saw Clark and an alien civilization defeat a rogue Sun Eater. While the superhero didn't use his powers in battle, he was instrumental in its defeat by transporting a powerful explosive known as an entropy bomb to the entity's core. In addition to this entry being one of a kind due to the Sun Eaters not being sentient beings, it's not every day that Superman's parents are involved in his adventures. Number 3. Imperiex. Our Worlds at War. The Our Worlds at War saga is one of DC's most underrated crossover events. In it, the godlike being Imperiex felt that the current universe was flawed and sought to remake it as he saw fit. Using Mongol's Warworld as a conduit for his power, the cosmic entity began his galactic rampage. A massive battle ensued, and in the process, the villainous Brainiac 13 took advantage of the situation and absorbed Imperix's apocalyptic energies for himself. This unexpected team-up forced Superman to increase his power by diving into the sun and pushing Warworld through a boom tube that the other heroes had created. Before this cosmic phenomenon wiped out Imperiex and Brainiac 13, the former found out that the flaw in the universe he discovered was in fact himself. Number 2. Mr. Mitzel-Spitlick. Whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow? Normally, the fifth dimensional imp is no more than a nuisance in Superman's life, but this was far from the case in the seminal Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow storyline. This 1986 comic served as a coda for the pre-crisis Superman and pitted him against his foes, who had become more dangerous than ever before. In addition to this, Superman's secret identity was exposed to the world, placing his loved ones at risk. After several dangerous encounters, which left most of his friends and foes dead, the titular hero realized that he had not encountered the omnipotent imp at any point. This is where Mixie revealed himself as the instigator behind Clark's current woes. To prevent further annihilation through the imp's deranged influence, Superman traps Mitzel-Spitlick between his home dimension and the Phantom Zone, literally tearing the imp in two. Dejected by his actions, Superman strips himself of his abilities and goes into hiding in order to live a normal life. And number 1, Darkseid, Final Crisis. Final Crisis saw the Earth turn to ground zero for Darkseid's ultimate plan to wipe out the cosmos before his demise. Naturally, the universe's various heroes sought to stop this plan, even as they were being falling prey to Darkseid's destructive nature. Before the villain's essence could wipe out the entirety of the DC universe, Superman noted that it operated on a very specific frequency that he could counter with a powerful note of his own. This high-pitched sound was able to dissipate the new god's essence and wipe him out for good. And while the idea of Superman defeating Darkseid with a high-pitched note of all all things might sound ridiculous and anticlimactic to some, it showcases the hero's ingenuity and his ability to overcome threats without having to resort to simple blows.
Wolverine, Enemy of the State is best described as a big, stupid 90s action movie with claws. In the story, we see Wolverine brainwashed and working alongside classic enemies, the Hand and Hydra, as he goes to battle with Marvel heroes such as Spider-Man and Captain America. And in an alternate future where he's never deprogrammed, we learn he killed many of these heroes. The Clawed Canuck is one of the best comic book characters for this type of storyline. He can fall into berserker rages where his more feral side is at the forefront, plus he's armed to the teeth even when without weapons. Has some of the best training in the Marvel Universe thanks to over a century of combat experience, and that healing factor means that even a killing blow may not be enough to take him down. Over the years, this combination of factors has led to Logan facing some incredibly powerful foes and having no other choice than to permanently end them. I am Kirsten from What Culture, and these are 10 of the most powerful characters killed by Wolverine. Number 10, Lady Deathstrike. Professor Kenji Oyama was a Japanese scientist who created the adamantium bonding process that Weapon X used to coat Logan's bones with the unbreakable alloy. A kamikaze pilot during World War II, he felt intense shame when he failed to die after his plane exploded. Rather than seeking therapy, he ritually scarred the faces of his children and became a criminal under the alias Lord Darkwind. Kenji's own daughter, Yuriko, later killed him in revenge for the death of her brothers and the scarification. Thus began Yuriko's own turn towards the dark side, as she sought to right the wrongs done to her father that had turned him into a monster over the years. One of those wrongs was the theft of the adamantium bonding process, which led to the newly named Lady Deathstrike starting a lifelong feud with Wolverine for being the recipient of the alloy. She also hunts adamantium stockpiles all over the world. A version of Yuriko appears in the 2002 film X-Men 2, appearing as a brainwashed mutant with similar powers to Wolverine. In this one though, ironically, Wolverine kills her by pumping her with more adamantium than she can handle, literally filling it up to her eyeballs in probably one of the most gruesome deaths of the whole movie. Number 9, himself. When a virus from a microverse diminished his healing powers, a lot of enemies seemed to crawl out from the woodworks, all aiming to defeat Logan once and for all, so it didn't take him long to realise that he had a bounty on his head. His investigation eventually led him to Dr. Abraham Cornelius, one of the key players in the Weapon X program that gave Wolvie his adamantium. Attempting to replicate the process, Cornelius found the one missing element was Wolverine's healing factor. Finding that had gone, Cornelius attempted to escape by activating the adamantium bonding process on 3 of his experimental subjects. Logan, knowing they'd die without his ability, slashed open the tanks to stop the adamantium and was covered in the liquid metal from head to toe. Pursuing Cornelius, he killed the man who'd put him through so much torment and reflected on the life he'd led. Kneeling in the sunset, the adamantium that once made him unbreakable slowly hardened, suffocating poor Wolverine to death. Number 8, Daken. The Dark Wolverine Daken first appeared in the 2007 issue The Wolverine Origins. Son to deceased mother Itsu and Logan, Daken is the personification of daddy issues. Intelligent, manipulative, and a wee bit psychotic, Daken has a lot more in common with his father's worst enemy, Sabretooth, than he does with the Canuck. Animal-like senses, bone claws, and a healing factor that is far more powerful than his father's make Daken an easy match for Logan. While commanding X-Force, Logan is drawn into a battle against his son. Throughout the battle, we see flashes of another life where Wolverine and Itzo live happily together and raise Daken properly. But Logan knows that this isn't the real world and that Daken is a sick animal that needs to be put down. He apologises to his son for not being there when it mattered most and slowly drowns him in a shallow puddle. Number 7, Sabretooth. Sabretooth is such a dark mirror to Wolverine and is so closely tied to him in storylines that it's a shock for many fans to realise that he was actually created as a recurring villain for Iron Fist. And yet Victor Creed is so similar in powers to Wolverine that fans long theorised he was Logan's real father. Throughout their long lives, the two have been thrown together by fate time and time again, often as antagonists but sometimes as friends and partners. Bigger, stronger and far more animalistic than Logan, Creed regularly hunted him down and tore his life apart at the seams. When that primal side finally took over fully, it was Wolverine who hunted Sabretooth down. Wielding the Muramasa blade, a katana that disrupts healing factors, years, Logan finally put an end to his long-time tormentor and was left wondering if anyone could ever do the same for him if he's ever reduced to such a feral state. Number 6. The Hulks. Wolverine was introduced in the last panel of the Hulk 180, where he spent most of the next issue trying to tear the green guy apart, until they finally teamed up to take on the cannibalistic Wendigo. Sadly, as most fans know, team-ups in the years since have rarely been forthcoming, with the two preferring to fight the other more often these days. One such fight takes place in Mark Millar and Steve McNiven's Old Man Logan, a comic that takes place in an apocalyptic future where most of the world's heroes have fallen and what remains of the United States has been split into territories controlled by supervillains. The first villain readers run into are the Hulk Gang, who are the incestuous cannibalistic grandchildren of a morally challenged Hulk and his cousin She-Hulk. I'll just let that horror sink in for a moment. The Logan we meet has made a vow never to pop his claws again, and so he lives in subservience to the Hulk Gang. After leaving on a trip to gain rent money, Logan returns to find that his wife and children had been killed by the Hulks. After slaughtering every Hulk child, Logan and Banner face off one final time. Logan is easily beaten and then devoured by the Hulk, but he heals within his stomach and then explodes out of the evil green giant in an explosion of green blood. Number 5. Omega Red. Russian serial killer Arkady Gregovich Rossovich was captured and enrolled in a 1960s KGB project to create a Russian super soldier that could take on Captain America. Already a mutant with enhanced speed, strength and durability, as well as the ability to produce pheromones that poisoned those too close to him, the experiments left Arkady with carbonadium, a weaker but more malleable form of adamantium, tentacles that implanted into his arms, and a big problem. The carbonadium was slowly poisoning him, and he had to use the tentacles to drain the life force of others to simply keep his nervous system working. The carbonadium synthesizer, a device that could stabilize this condition, was stolen by the CIA's mutant covert ops group Team X in the first meeting between Arkady and Wolverine. Years later, after being put into suspended animation when the Soviets lost all trust for him, Omega Red was awoken and immediately began hunting members of Team X in search of the device that could cure him of his only weakness. In a final encounter that Red has miraculously since recovered from, Wolverine drove the Miramasa blade through Arkady's heart. Number 4. Unnamed New Mutant. In the X-Men comics, there has been arguments for and against mutants being cured. Famously, Storm, who can control the weather and has been worshipped as a goddess, cannot understand why anyone would want to be cured. But the X gene is a capricious thing, as likely to turn teenagers into monsters who can have no normal life as it is to create beings of incredible power. In Ultimate X-Men 41, we see an example of both when a boy hits puberty and his mutation activates. As he goes through his day encountering normal teenage problems, we see people starting to burn up around him. Eventually, his schoolmates and girlfriend burn in front of his eyes, and the boy goes into hiding in a cave. It's here that Wolverine, the only person who can get close to the kid thanks to his healing factor, finds him and shares a beer with him while explaining that the 265 deaths from this mutant's awakening will be covered up as a chemical leak, and then Logan completes his mission. In the morning, Wolverine steps out of the cave alone and into a safer world. Number 3. Jean Grey. If you've ever heard of the saying love is pain, then spare a thought for Logan. In the very few moments of his long life where he hasn't been feral, he's managed to come across a few groups that have accepted him enough for him to accept himself, and in those groups has been a woman in which he has come to fall in love with, who unfortunately meets a very tragic end. With the X-Men, that woman was Jean Grey. At first the object of a forbidden fruit passion thanks to her relationship with Scott Summers, Logan soon found respect for the woman and the combination turned to love. But you know what they say love is. Wolvie first killed Jean in New X-Men number 148 to save her from the agony of burning alive while on an asteroid heading into the sun. As Jean and Death have a kind of revolving door arrangement, mostly brought on by her connection to the Phoenix Force, she got better and was subsequently killed by Wolverine again another 6 or 7 times. Even in the film versions, Wolverine is seen ramming his claws into Jean's torso to end the Dark Phoenix. Number 2. Moira McTaggart. Long thought to be a human scientist that allied with the mutants after an affair with Xavier, it's actually revealed that Moira McTaggart was a mutant herself, with a pretty amazing ability. She is able to reincarnate herself after she dies from the moment of conception. Around 13 years old, when her mutant abilities begin to manifest, she regains all memories of her previous lives and is able to use that knowledge to change the future and rewrite fate itself. In a future where she joined with Apocalypse in building a mutant army who would rise against the humans, humanity fought back with Sentinels led by the seemingly unkillable Super Sentinel Nimrod. With the last few mutants on a suicide mission to take Nimrod down, Apocalypse sent Wolverine away from the final battle. Finding Moira in a stasis pod, Logan used a device of Apocalypse's design to upload the information of Nimrod's origins into her mind, so that they have a fighting chance of stopping this future from ever coming to pass. And then, after completing a plan that she had spent one of her lifetimes on, Wolverine kills her so that she can take that knowledge into the past and protect the mutant race. Number 1. All of the X-Men. At the start of Old Man Logan, we learn that he won't fight the Hulks because of something that happened in his past. We later learn that he hasn't actually popped his claws since the villains attacked the X-Men and Logan was the last survivor. It's only much later that we learn what truly happened that night to break Wolverine's spirit. The villains did attack, and Wolvie went into one of his berserker rages, slashing all that he saw and slaughtering those who were trying to hurt his teammates. Except that wasn't what happened at all. Did you really think you could do this alone? Take down 40 supervillains? Talk about delusions of grandeur. But your friends, people who would hesitate, that's a different matter entirely. Mysterio, the master of illusions, had tricked even Logan's enhanced senses to make him see his allies as the attacking enemies. Not only that, but the master of illusions even managed to make them feel and smell different. And as they begged him to stop, Wolverine stabbed each and every one of his friends through the heart.
Eric Cross Brooks, the man known as Blade, first appeared in Tomb of Dracula number 10 in 1973. He began as a vampire-immune human, but was retconned as a dampire, or the product of a human-vampire coupling. Other than to eliminate some of the more problematic, stereotypical, and blaxploitation aspects of the character's beginnings, Blade hasn't had to change much over the years. It turns out, a cool, kick-ass vampire killer with a bad attitude is fairly timeless. Blade has come against many powerful foes, and through skill and sheer determination, has always prevailed. So with this in mind, I'm Dan from What Culture, and here are the 10 most powerful characters killed by Blade. Number 10. Taj Natal. Taj Natal was a member of Quincy Harker's group of vampire hunters. Natal was part of a trusted inner circle of the aging and crippled Harker that included Rachel Van Helsing, the granddaughter of Quincy's parents' friend and mentor Abraham Van Helsing, and Frank Drake, a direct descendant of Dracula himself. An attack by a group of vampires led by the Vampire Lord left Natal mute, his wife in a wheelchair, and his son cursed with vampirism. Taj left the vampire hunters after an angry mob of villagers broke into his home and killed his son. Sometime later, the ancient vampire, Varney, found him and turned him into a vampire. He was told to kill Blade, who Vernier had abducted and brought to his base in Rhode Island. Blade was then forced to stake his former ally, killing him in the process. Number 9. Zorus. Zorus was the son of Dracula and was highly critical of how his father was running his vampire empire. At one point, he planned to turn all of San Francisco into vampires and turned the mutant Jubilee into one to lure her fellow X-Men in. This ran him afoul of the mutants, who sought Dracula's aid against Blade's advice, and Dracula ripped Zorus' head off. When Zorus returned to life, he returned as the Shadow Colonel, a supposedly dissident vampire intent on challenging Dracula for the throne. The Colonel allied himself with the Legion of the Unliving. When the Avengers arrived to help the Romanians caught in the crossfire, Blade dealt a devastating blow to Zorus, removing his right leg, right arm, and head. Although he was definitely defeated, the head remained quite chatty, and his body was taken to the new vampire nation of Chernobyl. Number 8. Deathwalker Prime. After the defeat of Thanos' army, Blade took up the Ronin identity that Hawkeye had abandoned and accompanied the mighty Avengers to Attilan. Here, he recovered the talisman of Kamatage that the Deathwalkers were looking for. Ronin was attacked by a variety of were creatures that were trying to get the talisman. Blade was then brought to the Deathwalkers, who planned to sacrifice him. The Mighty Avengers located Blade, and he escaped, but not before the Deathwalkers drained some of his blood. The blood was used in a ritual to merge them into Deathwalker Prime, a creature that could control the 4 elements. Getting a hold of the cup that was used to complete the Deathwalker ritual, the Mighty Avengers merged together to create the Avenger Prime. Unlike all Deathwalker pairing, which had each member fighting for control, the Mighty Avengers worked together and the Avengers Prime overpowered and destroyed the Deathwalker Prime with a single punch. Number 7. Tricks. Tricks were a new kind of vampire creature that Blade had never encountered before. Their queen was worried that Blade's recent killing spree of vampires would upset the equilibrium between the two factions and cause an all-out war. They authorized Blade's assassination. Blade's weapon supplier is captured by the vampires, and they put a tracking device on him so he will lead them back to Brooks. They subdue the vampire hunter and capture him. The Trick then capture the agents of the Seven, who were sent to kill Eric. The young Seven leader gives the Daywalker a sword to invade the Trick stronghold. Blade then learns that his new girlfriend Susan is actually the Queen in disguise, and she is now pregnant from him, and that the leader of the Seven has been manipulating him as well. Brooks destroys the Trick lair, and the Queen escapes, but Blade has thinned out the ranks of the Trick so much that the Seven decide to leave him be. Number 6. Every vampire in Manhattan. During the world-changing events caused by Hydra and the Cosmic Cube, New York City is trapped in a bubble of dark force energy, like a snow globe. Unfortunately, since it is blocking out the sunlight, it has given the vampires of Manhattan free and unfettered 24/7 access to the living. But unfortunately for the vampires, they're trapped in Manhattan with Blade. In the Secret Empire Brave New World story, entitled Lessons, Blade has gone undercover as an elementary school substitute teacher to find the Bloodsire. He uses garlic spray, holy water infused finger paint, and undercooked meatloaf to make the vampire reveal itself. He thinks he has chosen the right boy, named Timmy, but is chased away by the overbearing principal before he can stake him. Blade later returns to find the principal sucking blood from tissues from kids that had bloody noses in the nurse's office. When Blade confronts her, she transforms and overpowers him, knocking the sword from his hand. Timmy, who actually is a vampire, hands Eric the stake he dropped, and the Daywalker kills the principal. Timmy then reveals himself to be 200 years old, and he says that he just wanted to go to school for once. So he and Blade walk out into the New York streets, talking about the resiliency of the city. Number 5. Draconis. After travelling back in time at the behest of Dr. Doom, Blade fulfilled the first part of the prophecy by releasing his captured father, Lucas Cross. Upon his return, Doom gave Eric an elixir that would supposedly cure his thirst for human blood. Cross captured his son, starved him, and attempted to get him to feed on a young virgin girl. To fulfill the second part of the prophecy, Blade then bit his own hand off and left the girl untouched. When Blade returned to England, he uncovered a group of vampires running illegal weapons. He then killed them and took their guns. This alerted a powerful vampire priest, Draconis. The priest attacked the Daywalker and was able to defeat him in their first outing. Blade regrouped, researched the priest, and asked for assistance from a fellow Borderlines investigations member and the vampire Hannibal King. This time, Blade fed on Draconis to make him easier to kill. Number 4. Apocalypse. In the Dark Ages miniseries, an incredibly powerful being called the Unmaker awoke in the center of the Earth and began destroying the planet. An electromagnetic pulse was devised by Doctor Strange to keep the monster at bay. However, it destroyed all electricity on the planet and sent it into turmoil. The surviving superheroes attempted to build a new society, but the mutant Apocalypse had other ideas. Using the Purple Man to control them, Apocalypse kidnapped the world's greatest minds, including Tony Stark, Reed Richards, Shuri, and Beast, to work out how to turn off the EMP. The ancient mutant planned to destroy the planet. A band of heroes, including Spider-Man, Doctor Doom, Moon Girl, Deadpool, Sue Storm, and others, attacked the compound and had to fight an army of their Purple Man-controlled friends. After Deadpool killed the Purple Man, their friends were free, and Doom told Dracula his plan. The vampire lord then bit En Sabanur and turned him into a vampire. and with a single swipe of his sword, Blade sliced the head off both Apocalypse and Dracula, turning both to dust in the wind. Number 3. Lilith. Lilith was the mother of all demons. Her numerous children were known as the Lilin. She first encountered Blade when she hired him, Hannibal King, and Frank Drake to kill the second Ghost Rider and Johnny Blaze. After an extended battle with the pair, the members of the Borderline investigation realized that they had been tricked and joined with the Rider and Blaze to go after Lilith. Joined by Doctor Strange, Morbius, and the Darkhold Redeemers, the group became the Midnight Suns and fought the members of the Lilin. In the final battle, Doctor Strange teleports the entire team to the Arctic Circle to engage Lilith directly. Lilith creates a dimensional portal in her own body to draw forth her Lilin. Lilith draws the lost spirit Daniel Keith from the portal and attaches it to Meat Market. Blade then slashes him through the stomach, causing him to attack his fellow Lilin in pain. Then Ghost Rider attacks Lilith directly and holds her over his head, forcing her into her own rift, along with the Lilin, closing it and defeating them in the process. Number 2. Deacon Frost. Deacon Frost was a scientist attempting to uncover the key to immortality. In 1929, prostitute Vanessa Brooks was having issues with her delivery. The doctor, Deacon Frost, feasted on Vanessa, killing her and passing his powers on to the child, Eric. He was driven away before being able to kill the baby by the ladies of Madame Vanity's brothel, and then they raised the boy. He grew up to become the vampire hunter known as Blade. Though they initially distrusted each other, Blade teamed up with the future fellow Night Stalker Hannibal King, whom Frost had also turned into a vampire. They battled an army of Frost's men and thought they had him cornered, but it turned out to be a doppelganger. This false Frost was trying to unseat Dracula as the Lord of the Vampires, but failed. In Tomb of Dracula number 4, the true Frost arrived at what he thought was a summons from the Vampire Lord, only to then be staked by Blade. And number 1, Dracula. Vlad Tepes' Dracula was a centuries-old vampire and Transylvanian nobleman who rules from his ancestral home, Castle Dracula. He is the lord of all vampires and has a vast network of servants, brides, and minions to do his bidding around the world. In 1968, Blade was a member of a small group of vampire hunters. He located Dracula and convinced him of a prophecy that the vampires will rule the world in 60 years. Eric further enticed the Vampire Lord by claiming that he had a plan that would shorten the time of this to only 10 years. Vlad then agreed to meet Brooks' associates. Dracula soon discovered that this was a trap and that Blade's friends were a group of vampire hunters. They succeeded in killing Dracula with wooden knives which worked well as wooden stakes. In Tomb of Dracula 30, Dracula was resurrected by his minions and he killed everyone in the group except for Blade. But this wouldn't be the last time that Eric killed the Vampire Lord.